Hello everyone, and welcome to my CBS YNR Full Today channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Is the legendary Newman legacy finally turning into a pile of ashes? Or was this calculated divorce the only way for Nikki to truly survive the man she's spent 50 years loving? What if those 7 little words she screamed weren't just a heat-of-the-moment insult, but a final, soul-crushing truth that Victor Newman can never recover from? Seriously, guys, I am sitting here staring at my screen in absolute, pure shock. Did we just watch the same episode? Because my jaw is currently on the floor, and I honestly don't think I'll be able to pick it up anytime soon. I need to vent, I need to scream, and I need to know if I am the only one who feels like the entire foundation of the young and the restless just got ripped out from under us. Was this really just a simple mistake, or is it something much deeper? We've seen these two go through hell and back, but this time feels like the end of an era. For decades, the name Niktor has been the definition of an unbreakable, even if totally toxic, bond. We've seen them survive everything from Diane Jenkins' death to actual explosions, always finding their way back to that iconic ranch. But today, the atmosphere in Genoa City has shifted from romantic drama into a cold, clinical war. Nikki Newman, the woman who rose from being a stripper to become the queen of the Newman Empire, has officially reached a breaking point. And this isn't just another spat. It's a collision of a health crisis and a terminal power struggle. While Victor is busy playing 4D chess with Matt Clark and trying to dismantle the Abbotts, he has completely missed the fact that his wife is physically and emotionally falling apart. This didn't happen overnight, did it? It is the result of years of Victor treating loyalty like a form of submission. Well, think about it. Victor's deep-seated psychological conditioning equates love with total control. To him, being a good husband means providing protection, but only on his terms. He sees Nikki's concern for Jack Abbott or her objections to his unethical business tactics as acts of defiance. It's actually tragic. Victor thinks he's fighting for his marriage, but he's really just fighting for his ego. My opinion? Victor has finally become the villain in his own love story, and he's too arrogant to realize the hero, Nikki, has already left the building. Can you believe the nerve of this man? He actually told her that her headaches were self-induced. Talk about gaslighting. Let's look at the moment that changed everything, Nikki returning her wedding rings in her suite. This wasn't just a symbolic gesture. It was a tactical strike against Victor's perceived ownership of her. When she pulled those rings off, she wasn't just ending a marriage, she was reclaiming her identity. Imagine the internal exhaustion Nikki is feeling right now. She is carrying the weight of a brain mass diagnosis, a tumor pressing on her optic nerve that could literally steal her sight. And instead of being able to lean on her husband, she has to defend herself against his bullying. She lies to him about her headaches being stress-induced because she knows that if Victor finds out the truth, he won't just support her, he will take over. He will manipulate the doctors, choose the surgeons, and turn her survival into another Newman Enterprises project. The funny thing is, Nikki's decision to hide her diagnosis from Victor is a profound act of self-preservation. By keeping him in the dark, she has effectively taken away his power for the first time in their history. In my view, this is the ultimate irony. The man who prides himself on knowing everything is completely blind to the fact that his wife is facing the greatest battle of her life alone. This isn't just about a divorce, it's about Nikki proving that her strength isn't derived from his shadow. Psychologically, Victor cannot handle a problem he can't bully into submission, so he blames the victim, his own wife, to maintain his sense of superiority. Have you ever seen someone so desperate to be in control that they destroy the very person they claim to love? Now, shift the scene to the divorce court. This is no longer a legal proceeding, it is the final battlefield. Victor's legal team isn't looking for a fair settlement. They are launching a deliberate campaign to dismantle Nikki's credibility. This is where the story gets truly dark. Victor, the man who claimed to worship her, is now allowing his lawyers to drag her past struggles with alcoholism into the public eye to prove she is unstable. He's using her moments of relapse not as evidence of recovery, but as proof of weakness. I have to say, this is the lowest Victor Newman has ever stooped. Weaponizing a partner's recovery and trauma to win a corporate stake is the definition of a toxic patriarch. He is essentially saying that if he can't own Nikki, he will destroy her reputation so no one else can value her. It's a ruthless power struggle where all decency is stripped away. And then there's Jack. Victor's venomous jealousy of Jack Abbott is the fuel for this entire fire. Even in the courtroom, Victor sees Jack's presence not as a friend supporting a woman in crisis, but as a rival trying to steal his prize. But here's the twist: Jack arrives with a USB drive that Nikki obtained at great personal risk. This drive contains evidence of Victor's illegal AI program used to sabotage Chabot. The USB drive is the point where the entire case tilts. Suddenly, the story shifts from unstable Nikki to criminal Victor. The contrast is just devastating. You have a woman who battled addiction and survived versus a man who consciously chose to violate the law to destroy a rival. This is the moment Nikki's resilience becomes her greatest strength. She doesn't need to deny her past. Her survival of it is what makes her more credible than Victor's calculated corruption. For Victor, Newman Enterprises is his identity. Losing control of the company would mean surrendering the narrative he has spent a lifetime constructing. When the evidence of his AI sabotage comes out, the timestamps, the code logs, the intentional destruction of Chabot's financial systems, the Titan is exposed as a common lawbreaker. His need for control has finally crossed the line into obsession, and the legal system, for once, might not be able to be bought. Can Victor ever recover from this kind of public exposure? I doubt it. He's been exposed as a man willing to weaponize technology without any regard for law or ethics. But we have to talk about the most explosive moment in recent history. The scene where Victor, reduced to a puddle of tears, signs the divorce papers. But it wasn't the legal evidence that broke him. It was 7 words from Nikki that acted like a fatal blow to his soul. I have always loved Jack, not you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I counted them, and they hit so hard. These words are a total annihilation of 50 years of Niktor history. Whether Nikki meant them or if they were a weaponized lie designed to finally make Victor let her go is the big question. If she's lying, it's the most brilliant and cruel strategy she's ever used. If she's telling her truth, then every romantic reunion we've watched for decades was a lie. Seeing Victor Newman weep in his living room is something I never thought we'd see again. His lip quivering, actual tears hitting the divorce papers, it's a moment of raw, heartbreaking vulnerability. For a man whose entire life is built on being the strongest person in the room, hearing that he was never truly loved by the one person who mattered is the ultimate defeat. He didn't even argue. He just signed. He finally understood that power and money cannot force love. Psychologically, this is a massive shift in Nikki's feelings, or is it? Maybe she has always felt a sense of safety and humanity with Jack that Victor's prison guard style of love could never provide. By claiming she always loved Jack, she isn't just hurting Victor, she is rewriting her own history to make her current departure permanent. You don't bounce back from a statement like that. It's a point of no return. In my opinion, Nikki went for the jugular because she knew it was the only way to get Victor to sign those papers. She had to break his spirit to gain her freedom. Is it cruel? Absolutely. But when you are dealing with a man who moves psychotic abusers like Matt Clark onto your ranch just to maintain an advantage, sometimes you have to use the ultimate weapon to escape. What do you think? Did Nikki go too far, or was this the only way out of a toxic cycle? The fallout of this divorce is going to be apocalyptic for the Newman family. Nick and Victoria are left stunned and hollow, watching their parents devour each other in open court. This isn't just about a marriage ending, it's about the final unraveling of a family built on secrecy and power. Nick is consumed by rage because he realizes the inevitability of it all. He wanted peace, but he's forced to accept that his parents' love was never enough to undo years of manipulation. Victoria, on the other hand, is losing her foundation. She modeled herself after Victor's strength, and now she has to face the fact that his empire was built on unethical, criminal decisions. To her, neither parent is a hero anymore. They are just flawed architects of a crumbling structure. What happens next? I predict a Victor Newman who has nothing left to lose. A broken-hearted Victor is more dangerous than a greedy one. He is going to go on a warpath that will target everyone Nikki cares about. He's going to target Jabot, he's going to target Kyle, and he might just burn Genoa City to the ground to deal with his pain. And Nikki? Her health crisis is the ticking time bomb. What happens when she finally faces that surgery for her brain mass, and the man who would move mountains for her is no longer allowed in the room? The irony is tragic. She finally got her freedom just as she might be losing her sight. This storyline is firing on every single cylinder, and I am strapped in for the ride. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you think Nikki actually meant those 7 words, or was she just saying the one thing she knew would finally break Victor's hold on her? Is it possible she has always loved Jack more? And is Victor truly the villain here for trying to care for his wife, or has his history of control finally made it impossible for him to be a hero? Can you ever forgive a man who uses your medical crisis as a way to win you back? Let me know your rants, your theories, and your tears in the comments below. I read every single one of them. No matter how many betrayals, affairs, lies, kidnappings, shootings, fake deaths, or corporate wars they endured, viewers always believed they would somehow find their way back to each other. On The Young and the Restless, no relationship has embodied that phenomenon more than Nikki Newman and Victor Newman. Their story has stretched across decades, survived countless storms, and become one of the defining love stories in soap opera history. That is precisely why the latest developments feel so shocking. For perhaps the first time ever, viewers are being forced to consider a possibility that once seemed impossible. What if the Newman marriage is truly over? The emotional devastation surrounding Nikki and Victor's collapse is unlike anything fans have witnessed in recent years. This isn't simply another temporary separation designed to create a few weeks of drama before an inevitable reunion. The atmosphere feels different. The writing feels different. Even the performances carry a sense of finality that has left longtime viewers stunned. What makes the situation particularly heartbreaking is that the conflict isn't centered on a single betrayal. There wasn't one affair, one lie, or one shocking secret that destroyed the marriage overnight. Instead, this feels like the culmination of decades of unresolved issues finally reaching a breaking point. The cracks have always existed beneath the surface. Victor's need for control. Nikki's constant struggle for independence. The endless cycle of forgiveness followed by repeated disappointment. All those unresolved tensions have finally erupted into a full-scale emotional war. The tragedy begins with Nikki herself. Throughout her journey on The Young and the Restless, she has evolved from a vulnerable young woman into one of Genoa City's most respected and resilient figures. She has battled addiction, overcome personal demons, survived unimaginable hardships, and repeatedly rebuilt her life when others would have fallen apart. Her strength has always been one of her defining characteristics. Yet strength does not make someone invincible. The storyline surrounding Nikki's health crisis adds an entirely new layer of emotional complexity. Facing the possibility of a serious medical condition would be terrifying for anyone. But facing it while simultaneously watching your marriage collapse creates an almost unbearable burden. Rather than receiving comfort and understanding from the man who has supposedly loved her for decades, Nikki finds herself increasingly isolated and emotionally exhausted. Many viewers have been particularly disturbed by Victor's response to Nikki's concerns. His tendency to dismiss her feelings and attribute her symptoms to stress or emotional instability reflects a pattern that has existed within their relationship for years. Victor often believes he knows what is best for everyone around him. While that characteristic has occasionally allowed him to protect his family, it has also created enormous damage. The problem is that Victor rarely recognizes the difference between protection and control. From his perspective, every decision he makes is motivated by love. He genuinely believes that his actions serve the best interests of his family. Unfortunately, the people closest to him often experience those actions very differently. What Viktor views as protection can feel like suffocation. What he views as guidance can feel like domination. What he views as loyalty can feel like ownership. Nikki has spent years navigating that complicated reality. Her decision to remove her wedding rings represents one of the most powerful moments in recent Young and the Restless history. Symbolically, those rings have always represented the connection between Nikki and Viktor. They served as a reminder that regardless of how many times they separated, they always belonged together. Taking them off changes everything. The act isn't merely about ending a marriage. It represents Nikki reclaiming ownership of her own life. For perhaps the first time, she is choosing herself over the expectations of the Newman dynasty. She is declaring that her identity exists independently of Viktor Newman. That realization may ultimately be the most threatening thing Viktor has ever faced. Corporate enemies do not scare Viktor. Criminals do not scare Viktor. Business rivals do not scare Viktor. He knows how to fight those battles because they operate according to rules he understands. But a Nikki who no longer needs him? That is unfamiliar territory. The psychological implications are fascinating. Viktor has built much of his identity around being the protector of his family. If Nikki chooses to walk away permanently, it challenges his entire understanding of himself. It forces him to confront the possibility that his methods have caused more harm than good. That is an uncomfortable truth for a man who has spent decades viewing himself as the hero of his own story. The divorce proceedings only intensify these themes. What should have been a painful but respectful separation instead transforms into a brutal public battle. The legal tactics being employed reveal just how far both sides are willing to go. For many viewers, the most disturbing aspect involves the weaponization of Nikki's past struggles with alcoholism. Recovery is one of Nikki's greatest achievements. It represents years of hard work, perseverance, and personal growth. Using that history against her feels particularly cruel. The strategy speaks volumes about the destructive nature of the conflict. When relationships reach this level of toxicity, even personal victories become weapons. Rather than celebrating Nikki's resilience, her past is being reframed as evidence of weakness. Rather than acknowledging her growth, opponents attempt to undermine her credibility. It creates an emotionally devastating dynamic that resonates with many viewers who have experienced similar betrayals in real life. Meanwhile, Viktor's ongoing obsession with defeating Jack Abbott continues to fuel much of the chaos. For decades, Jack has represented something Viktor could never fully eliminate. No matter how many victories Viktor achieved, Jack remained standing. Their rivalry has become one of daytime television's most enduring feuds. What makes the situation particularly ironic is that Jack's role in Nikki's life increasingly highlights Viktor's shortcomings. Jack listens when Nikki speaks. He respects her decisions. He treats her as an equal partner rather than a subordinate. Whether romantic feelings exist or not, the contrast is impossible to ignore. Viktor interprets Jack's presence as a threat. Nikki experiences it as support. That difference explains much of the tension currently consuming Genoa City. The introduction of evidence related to Viktor's alleged misconduct further complicates matters. Suddenly the narrative shifts away from personal grievances and enters the realm of accountability. Questions about corporate ethics, abuse of power, and legal responsibility begin overshadowing the emotional aspects of the divorce. For a man whose identity is deeply connected to his reputation, that development could prove catastrophic. Viktor Newman has always cultivated an image of strength, intelligence, and invincibility. His ability to control situations has been one of his defining characteristics. Watching that control slip away creates dramatic tension unlike anything fans have seen in years. Yet even those developments pale in comparison to the moment everyone is talking about. The words Nikki delivers to Viktor during their final confrontation may go down as one of the most controversial statements in Young and the Restless history. "I have always loved Jack, not you." Whether those words reflect genuine feelings or strategic manipulation remains the central mystery. If Nikki meant every syllable, the implications are staggering. It would force viewers to reinterpret decades